Hey guys, my name is Loveless and we are back with Quirk Knife. This story is so amazing. I love it. I will keep going with this. It is so amazing. So let's get on to it. Izuku didn't cry after that night with Eraserhead. It was easier to pretend that it never happened. Instead of dwelling on his own sadness, he relied on other tasks that would keep him busy, never giving him a chance to sit back and think about his problems. Not that he had problems, he was perfectly fine. Everything was fine. Izuku spent his next few nights examining and pre-writing notes and copying them into fresh notebooks, adding new information and making changes when necessary. And yes, maybe sleep deprivation was catching up with him, but it never killed nobody. Wait. Doesn't matter, because Shinso's success is more important. The entrance exam for UA is in approximately 10 months. Or 10 months and 8 days to be specific. Shinso has yet to deeply explain his quirk. It's almost like he's afraid of his own power, which Izuku has a feeling is true. His friend has never asked direct questions, so Izuku can assume that it's something to do with his quirk. Maybe that's how it's activated. Shinso always pauses before speaking to find a way to reform his questions into statements, and Izuku asks about it, but his questions always get brushed off every time. Izuku couldn't be the one to judge all the secrets keeping, though. Shinso still had no idea what his life was like. The two had just finished their 2-hour beach cleaning session, which they completed every day after school. They bring their items down to the junkyard and deposit the smaller items into a nearby trash bins, Izuku often getting distracted by items he keeps finding. The other day he found a perfectly good baseball bat. He didn't know what he would ever need it for, but he still hid it into the further back of the beach so he can return for it later, where Shinso wouldn't be around to interrogate him. Every day after getting rid of the garbage, Izuku leads Shinso on a 45-minute run through the rundown parts of the town, which they rarely run into people, which clearly makes Shinso more comfortable. Hey, Izuku huffed while jogging, just about halfway through their route. We're gonna have to talk about your quirk. Shinso nearly tripped over his feet trying to catch himself last minute and falling a step back with the shorter boy not responding. Izuku chuckled. Are you that out of breath, Lanky? He panicked momentarily as he let his secret nickname slip, but Shinso just huffed a small chuckle in response. Yeah, I don't understand. Shinso paused as he painted. How you have so much endurance? You're tiny. Shinso wiped the sweat from his brow, the purple hair sticking to his forehead. You're like a little bunny. Hey, Izuku laughed. I'm not that small. You're like 5'2". Izuku put his hand on his hip while running and trying to puff out his chest. I'm almost 5'5". That's tall. Shinso literally looked down to meet his eyes. Tall. Izuku flipped off his friend before jumping as high as he could. Not my fault you're a string bean. You must be like 100 feet tall. Shinso tilted his head. I'm 5'9". Still way too tall. As their run came to an end, Izuku nervously scuffed his shoes against the pavement and looked off to the side. We're gonna need to start proper training. I found this place we can use. It's an abandoned warehouse. Izuku left out the fact that said abandoned warehouse was his current living space. Sick. We can go to it now if you like, Shinso answering with a bored shrug. Izuku nodded and began a brief walk through the alleyways and back streets, the taller boy keeping up easily with his long strides. Izuku knew that he had hidden everything that could imply him living in the warehouse, but he still couldn't help the anxiety that keeps bubbling up at the possibility of Shinso finding his things. And his friend had no filter. He would have no problem pointing it out. Here it is. Izuku beamed and pushed the heavy door open. I already brought the notebooks and shit yesterday. And oh, there's my bag. Izuku ran over and collected his yellow bag and sat down, gesturing for Shinso to follow him. Mavu's eyes were busy scanning the large area. This was a good find. There was suspicion laced in his dead voice, but Izuku decided to play dumb. Yep, lucky, I guess. Lucky. Shinso repeated slowly. Shinso repeated slowly and sank down next to Izuku, crossing his legs and leaving his elbow on his bent knee. Ignoring his stare, Izuku pulled out a small pile of notebooks, old and rewritten, splayed them out in front of both him and the purple-haired boy. Shinso reached out to one of them, giving Izuku an accent glance to look, in which the brunette just smiled. Izuku felt his face flush with embarrassment as Shinso read the pages, his eyebrows rising and his lip parted in surprise. I know it's kind of silly, Izuku cried, waving his hands around frantically. People used to make fun of me. Well, not make fun of me, but you know how it is, and Midoriya. Izuku paused from the firmness of the voice. Shinso maintained strong eye contact. This is very impressive. Not what I was expecting. Izuku's face flushed further. You don't think it's stupid? The corners of Shinso's mouth angled downward as his eyebrows pinched together. Not at all. I could never do something this. This is thorough. Not even close. Izuku paused for a moment. His mother ever complimented his notebooks and analytic skills, and even then, he knew his mom wanted him to find another hobby, to find something that would actually benefit his future, because the quirkless person could never become an actual hero. Right. Izuku pushed the thoughts to the back of his mind. Now let me explain. Being able to analyze quirks in real time is going to be vital, especially since you can't exactly rely on your quirk. To start practicing that skill, you have to start with this. Izuku held up one of his notebooks and waved it around slightly, and Shinso's eyes followed the movements. Take Eraserhead, for example, an underground hero who pretty much fights quirkless. Izuku didn't miss the way Shinso's eyes lit up at the mention of the pro hero, straightening his back in his seated position. His intelligence is what allows him to defeat his opponents, and I'm sure he's able to analyze quirks in high-pressure situations. Izuku nodded while he explained his thoughts. Shinso's eyes had a new light to them, and Izuku only smiled wider at the realization that that light was excitement. Actually, Shinso spoke hastily, Eraserhead is my favorite hero. I don't see him much since he works underground, but he's the type of hero I want to be. Oh, so Eraserhead is Shinso's All Might. Well, at least that's what All Might used to be to Izuku. Awesome. Okay, I can help you find your style. To figure things out, I'm assigning you your first project. Izuku pulled out an empty notebook with only one analysis written in the first page. It was All Might, of course. The one hero he felt that he knew everything about. Yes, Midoriya-sensei. Shinso mocked, and Izuku rolled his eyes. Shut it. You'll be doing an analysis on your own quirk. Do your best to follow outline of the example I gave you. Although, feel free to be creative. Shinso took the notebook and placed it in his lap. Cool. On the topic of Eraserhead, I actually met him the other day, Izuku said absentmindedly. Shinso actually showed emotion on his face, and he shifted with excitement, wanting Izuku to continue. Yeah, I punched him in the balls, though, but it had me thinking that if he wanted to be able to fight without relying on his quirk. You punched him in the balls? Shinso parroted. Izuku clapped his hands together several times. Yes, keep up. So, you'll need some sort of weapon. Eraserhead uses a capture weapon, but there's so many other options. You can use some sort of metal rod such as iron or brass knuckles, or even nunchucks like ninjas, or knives like me. No guns though. I feel they simply wouldn't work. Izuku trailed off. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. It's annoying. Shinso frowned. You apologize a lot. Izuku was taken back by the statement, unsure of how to respond. You need to stop apologizing for being yourself. You're doing me this to help me, so continue sharing your thoughts. Please, Shinso said, appearing almost nervous. Izuku smiled slowly. Shinso wanted to hear his thoughts? He didn't want him to shut up? You're really cool, Shinso. You know that? Shinso groaned as his cheeks went a little pink. Shut up. Take the compliment, Shinso shouted painfully. So we have beach cleaning and our runs, and we have to start sparring and fighting soon. We only have so much time, he said. Izuku showed Shinso a detailed plan that he created. It's gonna be hard work, not gonna lie, but I believe in you. Shinso looked up slowly at the new expression of determination. Let's fucking do this. Katsuki felt strange. It's not even the right word to express himself. He'd never been good at that, even though he was good at everything. Katsuki was sitting quietly in the kitchen with his parents. It's been like that a lot lately. Mitsuki? No, Mom. Mom has always been bold, fighting for whatever she believes in with no shame and not afraid to call people out on their bullshit. Lately, though, things have changed. Mom hasn't yelled at all. She either speaks in a quiet tone or stays completely silent. It felt off. Bad. Katsuki didn't like it. Mitsuki lost her fight. While she used to call the police several times a day to fight for Deku's safety, she gave up at one point. Mom doesn't give up. Going to school, Katsuki grumbled, tossing his empty bowl into the sink and storming past, until a hand grabbed his wrist. Mom kept her eyes trained forward and slowly stood up, moving her face towards his. Hag? Katsuki choked out with more concern than he meant to show. But her only response was to pull him to her chest. Katsuki stood there stiffly while his mom held him close and gently smoothed the back of his hair. I love you, Kats. Katsuki couldn't pull back no matter how intentionally he shouted at himself. But a part of him felt safe with his mom. She kissed the top of his head and ruffles his hair. Be good and learn something new today. Mom finally let him go and returned to the kitchen sink and started cleaning dishes. Katsuki stood there for a moment with his eyes on her. You'll be late, Katsuki, his dad said with a smile. See you later. Katsuki nodded. It felt like the words were caught in his throat. Why? He was still speechless by the time he arrived at school. While approaching the school gate, Katsuki noticed police cars in the parking lot. Some officers were leading inside while chatting amongst themselves. Katsuki's steps faltered for a moment, and everything around him grew silently. Why are the police here? Did they find Deku? Hey, dude, Boulders huffed. We got some sort of assembly today. Katsuki completely ignored the extra, quickly entering the school with his head hung low. He suddenly felt tired. He couldn't even force a fake scowl on his face. Katsuki's leg bounced anxiously under the desk while the teachers took attendance, completely skipping over Deku's name like the nerd never existed. All right, the teacher shouted over everyone's talking. Let's get this over with. The class was forced into a single file line, and Katsuki felt like he wasn't exactly present. Like his thoughts were fuzzy and the world around him wasn't exactly making sense. He sat down when everyone else did and the principal began talking, but Katsuki generally couldn't understand what she was saying. Her words were jumbled and broken. That is until the name Izuku Midoriya rang through his skull. Katsuki's eyes snapped up as the officer took the stage, holding a piece of paper between his hands. I'm not sure how many of you heard about the incident of the apartment complex down in the Shizuka Prefects involving a violent villain. The apartment building had been leveled and luckily there was only one death. Katsuki couldn't believe his ears. Luckily? How is anything about that statement fucking lucky? Anyhow, we've received information that we have a possible child missing who's lost their only family member in the incident. They attend this school. Izuku Midoriya has been missing since the words were lost to Katsuki once again. Attending this school? No. Deku attends this school. He's not dead. Why do they even care? Katsuki looked over to the source of the whispers. A girl with blue hair speaking to her friends. Not like anyone's waiting for him at home. Another snickered. Katsuki's head swiveled around. He's quirkless. Not that he's had anything to offer the world. No one's gonna miss that weirdo. Why are we having this whole assembly about this? No one cares. Katsuki couldn't block out all the comments from the fucking morons. He struggled against the urge to clamp his hands around his ears. Wait, why was his throat so dry? Probably finally followed your advice, huh? Fingers bumped his shoulder with a wide smile. His advice? In this world, there is the strong and the weak. The strong become great like All Might, like me. But you're weak. Nothing. No one will miss a fucking Deku like you. You can't do shit. You're too much of a coward to even kill yourself. Fucking quirkless shit. Stop trying to be a hero. Be fucking realistic. Those were the last words Katsuki told Deku before he went missing. But surely Katsuki would be able to speak to him again soon, right? The room was getting too small. Are the people looking at him? It feels like everyone's looking at him. If you have any information about the missing person, please let us know so we know the boy is safe. He may be unstable and in shock. So if you find him, bring him to the station immediately. If he refuses to come with you, call the authorities right away, the officer finished. The principal returned to the stage while the boy next to Katsuki chuckled. I wonder how he did it. Jumping? Drowning? Bleeding out? Knowing the nerd, he probably used some stupid scientific way. They chuckled silently, and Katsuki can only stare at his hands, palms up. He would see Deku again, right? Katsuki's clothes suddenly felt too heavy, yet too tight all at once. He was hyper-aware of the sounds of his accelerated breathing and his blood rushing through his veins. Was he about to cry? No, he was not about to cry. He isn't a crybaby like Deku. Yet when Katsuki got home, once he was safe behind his bedroom door, he cried. He stayed silent, but he still cried. Morning. Shinto sat at the designated library desk across from Izuku, opening up his laptop. Hey! Izuku smiled in return, typing fiercely on his Quirk history paper. What's up? Shinto threw a notebook at him, slapping him right in the face and falling onto his keyboard. I did what you told me. I analyzed my Quirk. Shinto pointed to the notebook. Izuku could tell his friend was nervous as he opened up the notebook to take a look at his work. He decided not to comment on it. He read 2 pages of the writing in simple black pen, no colors or drawing or sketches. It literally matches Shinto's personality. Hey Shinto. The purple-haired boy looked up and hummed in response, tired eyes strangely excited. I wrote better shit when I was 6. Shinto scoffed. Hey! Izuku laughed and waved him off. But you did your best, and that's all that matters. Besides, it's a good start. With practice, you'll be able to write all this stuff within seconds, helping you defeat opponents. I want you to do this once a week. You can choose heroes or villains, whatever you feel like doing. Izuku tossed the notebook back, and Shinto seemed content with the feedback, stuffing it into a small bag. We've been watching combat videos for the past week, Izuku said, continuing on his schoolwork. I think it's time that you start learning how to actually execute the moves. I've been doing research, and I've got the basics down, starting with self-defense and dodging. Shinto nodded, and he made that face. The face that he's currently processing the question into a statement. Stop that, Izuku snapped. His tone must have startled Shinto because his maverick eyes went wide and sinking back down into his chair. You wrote down that your quirk is activated when you ask someone a direct question. Shinto looked up once more, folding his arms across his chest and nodding. Izuku let his stern expression soften. You can ask me questions, you know. I trust you, like, a lot. Shinto was obviously startled by the question, and Izuku smiled reassuringly. Okay, use your quirk on me. Then you'll realize that I'm not afraid or anything, and I trust you. Izuku waited while Shinto was having an inner argument, in which the taller boy finally asked Izuku, rolling his eyes, Are you sure I can use my quirk? Izuku rolled his eyes. Yes, I said... Whoa. The sensation was strange, but not unwelcomed. If Izuku had to be honest, he didn't have any thoughts or strong emotions. Everything was simply foggy. Go get me a cup of water from the back room. He heard Shinto speak and his legs began moving before he completely processed the order. Izuku himself felt like he wasn't doing anything. He just did as he told and came back until Shinto released his hold. Wow. Izuku nearly screamed. That was so cool. Oh my gosh. You're gonna be such a good hero. Izuku noticed the glossy look in Shinto's eyes, and the boy smiled, an actual toothy grin. Midoriya? Izuku. The green had corrected quickly. Call me Izuku. Shinto glanced around the room and quickly added, Hitoshi then. Izuku beamed. Alright, Hitoshi. Let's do our best. Shinto nodded. You got this, Izuku. Oh, it's so sweet. This is so sweet. I just love this, this bond that Izuku and Shinto are having. Like, brotherly love, bromance. Like, I love it. They're getting better together. They will be strong. I love it. I love it. Probably, bromance. Or, I'm not sure if it's the right word, but it's sibling bonding, but they're not actually siblings. So, brother from another mother, literally, I guess. So, but we'll find out. Their bond, it only gets stronger. I love it. It's so sweet. Alright, if you want to see more of this, you know what to do.